racially motivated shooting that took place in Buffalo 2 weeks ago. I want to just take a moment to pause for the 13 people that were shot, 10 that were killed in this mass shooting. It's a beautiful service for Mrs. Ruth Whitfield. I thank the many members of the clergy that came out, colleagues in government that came out to support the Whitfield family, to lift them up in prayer and celebrate the life of Mrs. Ruth Whitfield, 86 years old, a beloved member of her family, a beloved member of this community whose life was snuffed out senselessly by a white supremacist, someone with hate in his heart and hate in his head. But we leave this place of pain and tears and celebration of life resolved that Mrs. Whitfield's life and the lives of the 9 others lost in this attack on our community in Buffalo, New York, will not be in vain. We will redouble our efforts, we will triple our efforts to work for sensible gun control in this country, to work to prevent those who have been radicalized on social media for that hate speech to end on social media in this country. So while our hearts are still broken and we are still hurting, our resolve is stronger than ever. I want to thank Reverend Al Sharpton for being with us during this past 2 weeks to comfort our families who lost loved ones, to help lift up this community. I want to thank my fellow mayor, my colleague in government, Mayor Eric Adams, who traveled from New York City to be here with us in this difficult time to help lift and support this community. Now it is my honor to turn things over to Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you. Let me say that we are ending the services and funerals, but not our commitment to stand together with Mayor Brown and the people of Buffalo to build a new Buffalo. With Crystal, come on with us, stand with us. Crystal, people Stokes and others. We are going to work in the name of the memory of these 10 families to really make it clear that this can be a model city. And when I said today that we want to work economic development, I work with this government. Some people report actually I take a shot at the government. No, I know the amazing things she can do, and I want her to commit us to moving together and working. Just last week, I was with her when she signed the first bill in the state around certain weapons. So we are working together with her and with our assembly persons and state senate, as well as our mayor. And I'm glad that I can bring on someone that we've been in the trenches for over 3 decades. When I started National Action Network, he was one that signed incorporation papers. He was a sergeant in NYPD. He called me and said, this is happening in my state, and I want to be there. I don't want to speak, I don't want to do a press conference, but I want to come and support Mayor Brown at this hour. And I said, well, I'm sure they want you to come, but you're going to have to say something at the press conference. So we may take the next flight back. And that is the mayor of the city of New York, our brother. Other people are rumoring he may do another bid for something else later, but I won't start rumors at funerals. Mayor Eric Adams.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton, and thank you, Reverend Sharpton, and Mayor Brown, Our hearts go out to this community and to our Senate women, Crystal People Stove. Too many handguns are in the hands of people who hate.
Yep.
Too many handguns are in the hand of people who hate. And we've normalized this dysfunctional mindset that handguns are part of what we should expect. On the verge of the Supreme Court ruling that would allow open carry, on the verge of the action that happened in Atlanta, where there are no real restrictions anymore in obtaining guns, on the verge of children shot in Texas, while the NRA still hold its convention and celebrate the over-proliferation of guns. There is a loud chorus across our country that is saying enough is enough, and we're going to mobilize this country to move in a direction that our babies should not be shot while in school, that our loved ones should not be shot while in supermarkets, that our children should not watch bullets carve highways of death, even when the bullets strike their target. The emotional pathway rips apart the anatomy of the communities that are left behind. This community will never be the same. Texas will never be the same. Brooklyn will never be the same. These killings and this terrorist act should be held accountable, but also those who are feeding this gun crisis should be held accountable. They are co-conspirators to the destruction and the pathway of destruction that has engulfed our nation, from Chicago to Los Angeles to San Francisco to Detroit to New York. It's not only what happened here in Buffalo, New York, but it's what is happening on Buffalo Avenue in Brooklyn and the Buffalo Avenues all across our nation. That's why I'm here in solidarity with the mayor, who has been vociferous of dealing with this sickness of the overproliferation of gun violence. And we're going to continue to mobilize together, and we won't be silent.
Amen.
We won't be silent. We are stating clearly, in the spirit of Ms. Whitfield, that this is not a moment that will pass by losing this mother in this manner. This is a moment of reigniting our spirit to fight this crisis in this city, in my city, and this country.
May we hear from Crystal People Stokes.
Thank you. I am heartbroken. I've known the Whitfield family. I grew up in the AME Zion Church, much like they did, and because it's a connectional church, spent a lot of time as young people and adults worshiping together. I clearly had a great relationship with the former commissioner of the fire department, but my heart is actually broken for all of the people who lost their lives at the top on Jefferson, that I fought long and hard to get because it was a food desert. And in a twinkle of a couple of bullets, it is a food desert again. So there is no way that we will walk away from this without a lot of hurt, without a lot of pain, yes, but with some clear direction that has to change, that market must open. There must also be other economic development on Jefferson Avenue. It's a commercial strip. This is happening, by the way, at the same time that the Restore Our Community organization fought for almost 20 years to restore a highway that literally divided the community 4 blocks from where that market is. There has been $1 billion designated to recover that, to reconnect that community. So we're going to add that, and we're going to add the work that we have to do on Jefferson to rebuild the community to the way that it used to be before other people came in and decided to destroy it. We didn't remove the parkway that went down the middle of Humboldt. We didn't do that. It was the evil and wicked that Reverend Sharpton talked about in the service that did that. We didn't destroy what happened at Top 10 Lives. It was the wickedness that destroyed that. And it's because we understand as a people of God that we can get through this. We will get through this with a lot of determination. At the end of the day, Buffalo is going to be built better because the east side of Buffalo is going to be built better.
And lastly, let me bring on a man that has stood in the gap for all of us. I call him the Attorney General of Black America, Ben Crump.
Yes. Ooh. He's my hero right here.
Reverend Al, Mayor Brown, Mayor Adams, and certainly Assemblywoman Stokes. At this moment, we condemn this act of inhumanity, this act of hatred, this act of white supremacy, and yes, this act of domestic terrorism. We have to say that over and over again so they don't marginalize how Ruth Whitfield was taken from this earth, the sin against the Buffalo 10, how they were taken from this earth. We have to call it domestic terrorism because we know how America rises up against terroristic acts. And when it's 10 black people in a grocery store being mowed down based on white supremacy, Reverend Al, we have to continue to say domestic terrorism, because if we do not, they will try to sweep this under the rug, and we cannot allow that to happen. Mayor Brown, Assemblywoman, they can never forget the sins committed, the horrible sins, madam, against the Buffalo 10. Reverend Al said it best in the service. The wickedness, we have to be able to say love like what was demonstrated by Ruth Whitfield will defeat hate. We stand together with this family. All the lawyers who are working with me, we stand together. All of you, we welcome you to be our co-counsels in this war against hatred. Thank you.
Sheriff, final words.
We will, in a moment, open up to media questions. But as you have heard on this issue of gun violence, this issue of racial hatred, we will not be silent. We will work together in a unified and powerful fashion. We leave this service for Mrs. Ruth Whitfield, a mother, a grandmother, a pillar of this community, more resolved than ever before to bring change to our nation. We'll open up for your questions.
questions.
I think a lot of viewers, people all over, are asking thoughts and prayers. Enough is enough. We have to stand up. What do you tell the people, and this is for Reverend and Mayor Adams as well, what do you tell the people that says what specific action is being done so this doesn't happen next week?
So thoughts and prayers are needed right now, but we have all committed to going well beyond thoughts and prayers. We have to hold the gun manufacturers accountable. We have to hold those in Washington, our lawmakers and our federal government who refuse to act accountable. We will not be silent on that. We will work in a collective fashion to hold the lawmakers in Washington that refuse to act and the gun makers who put profit over the sanctity of human life. We will hold them accountable.
Reverend Sharpton and Mayor Adams, you want to comment on that?
Because I think your question is a good one. What are the specific empowering things that we can do? Number one, I said it in Brooklyn when we found several guns in our schools. We want to empower parents to be partners. Before a gun hits the street, it is in someone's book bag. It is under someone's mattress. What are the indicators for that? Look at social media. What is the type of social media your child is looking at? How to be a part of this. Law enforcement should not be the only one that's dealing with this violence. We need to empower communities and parents to play a role in this and give them the tools to do so. And that is why we're fighting for a real alternative to our young people. We know what COVID did to the mental health of many of our young people. So we must empower families again. Then we have to hold social media responsible.
Amen.
We have the algorithms. If we have the algorithms to remove Trump off of Twitter, then we can remove violence off of Twitter. The social media companies that are allowing the indoctrination of young people across our country with this violence, that's the hidden hand to this. And so we need to bring them in, and our laws must catch up to what social media is doing to young people all over this country. Lastly, as the Mayor Brown stated, Washington must do more. The overproliferation of guns. We took 2,900 guns off the street since I've been mayor, yet there's an endless flow. There's an endless flow with ghost guns. The laws are not keeping up with the creativity of people who are putting guns in the hands of our young people.
Can I just add one thing, sir? I know you didn't direct the question at me.
Whoever wants
Come to
to,
the microphone.
whoever wants to talk.
But I think it is a good question. And on the floor of the legislature last week, I said to my colleagues, and by the way, I'm speaking mostly to my Republican colleagues, who I respect. But I told them, I don't want your thoughts or your prayers. I want action.
Amen.
Now, I need you to stop opposing opportunities to keep guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. If you're not willing to do that, then keep your thoughts and prayers. Let somebody pray for me who makes a prayer happen. That won't make a prayer happen.
Let me say in specifics that as soon as this happened on Saturday before last, the head of the Anti-Defamation League, head of the Asian American Alliance, head of National Urban League, and I joined together in calling for a White House summit on hate crimes. And we are in discussions with senior staff of the president. Why? Because we want to lead toward legislation on how we deal with social media. We want to deal with legislation in terms of federal, just as we had the president sign a presidential order, the executive order the other day that replaced what could have happened with the George Floyd legislation. It's not legislation, it's executive order, so we still need to make it legislation. He can do executive orders around the things that both Mayor Brown and Mayor Adams addressed. So we specifically are moving toward that. We've announced that. And I think the presence of the president in Buffalo right after it happened and the vice president today shows how serious this is. The issue of gun violence and hate must be major issues in the midterm elections.
Mark. Mark.
I wanted to follow up on that. What did the presence of the vice president mean to you today?
The president's traveling to Buffalo, the vice president being here today in Buffalo shows the importance of these issues at the highest level of the American government, shows the resolve on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration, the seriousness that has to be applied to these issues. The question's been asked about thoughts and prayers. The president being here and the vice president being here shows a resolve for real action, and their time with the families really provided real comfort to the families. I was able to, with Governor Hochul and Vice President Harris, address the families, seeing the vice president, spending time with the families, comforting them. It meant a lot to those families that the president was here and the vice president was here. Their healing is going to be hard, but to know that their president and their vice president care and intend to do something to prevent this from happening to other families meant a great deal.
Tara.
How long was that interaction with the vice president, approximately?
It was a significant interaction with the vice president and the families that were here. The vice president took time one-on-one with each individual family, talked to them, answered their questions, listened to things that they wanted to see change, and the vice president spent particular time with the children of the families that were here, because she knows the trauma that the children are feeling and experiencing, and encouraged the children to talk about what they were feeling and to share with the adults in the community what they were feeling. So it was a significant amount of time. The moments spent with each family by the Vice President were very powerful.
And we're not far from the Northland Training Center. You talk about economic...
Let me just say this in terms of she met with the Whitfield family and then met individually with other members of the families. So she did not only meet with the Whitfield family, she met with them, and then in about a half hour or 40 minutes. And then we had the meeting, she had the meetings with the mayor and other victims of the family. And she wanted people to know, last thing she said to Ben Crump and I, is that she's going to stay personally in touch with the family.
One or two more. So did you have one?
She wanted to
We're
follow
not
up.
far from, I just want to know how long that interaction was. We're not far from the Northland Training Center. Majority Leader, Mayor, you've talked about rebuilding the east side. How do we go about that? Because we talked about it for years. I mean, how long was that fight for that tops?
Well,
20 years.
the fight for the tops was a long time. We got that done. That market will be reopened, by the way. I mean, I do hear a lot of chatter, and the mayor does as well, about wanting to take that down and build a new one. I don't want people at 14208, which is where I live,
And where I live.
to wait for 4 months before there's a market
Or a
there.
year or 2 years.
Yes,
That's
we can
confirmed
get
it
this
will
market open by I would hope the end of June. Totally redone on the front of it, totally redone on the inside. It'll look like a different store when you walk in there.
And that's what TOPS has committed to
that's
doing.
what they've committed to.
That's confirmed. It's going to
That's
reopen.
confirmed.
Yes, it is confirmed.
And the 33, by the way, is in this year's budget. It's $1 billion for the capital resources for it, and $30 million to do the EIS study.
Mayor, can you talk about Northland?
Northland is designed to train 350 people a year in advanced manufacturing. It is working. It is a partnership between the state of New York and the city of Buffalo. $75 million invested for a comprehensive workforce training center. They're young people that live in this surrounding community that have graduated from Northland in the one-year program, starting at $35,000 a year, and in the two-year program, some starting at $75,000 a year or more. So that we've already started the process of rebuilding this community, of building the East Side. But like Reverend Sharpton said, in the church, we need government at every level to direct as much resources as possible to the east side of Buffalo. But more than just government, we need corporate America to realize that there is a market here, that there is money to be made here, and invest on the east side of Buffalo.
One more, sir.
Reverend Sharpton, Buffalo 1080. Now, I do understand, with the gun violence laws, but, we've been had our knees on necks, we've been chased down, we've been mowed down. Will there be a bill of, for hate crime for black people?
Yeah, hate crimes is going to be for everybody, especially black people. We're disproportionately the victims of that. And I think that is why we called this summit with the White House. And we stayed on them until he did this executive order on George Floyd. We're going to stay on this hate crime situation. We are absolutely disproportionately the ones that are victims. But we need to do both and. Like I said in the sermon, that I agree with Mayor Adams, that we've got to challenge others and penalize them for hate, and we got to challenge ourselves. Even if you're down and not responsible for being down, you're responsible for getting up.
Thank you, everybody.
Can I just say one thing?
Thank you.
Just one thing. I would like to see something passed where if somebody's caught or arrested with a gun, that they do some hard time. That needs to be done too, as well as everything else. That law needs to be changed.
100%.
Yeah, 100% right. Hey.